Hello anybody, and thanks for tuning in to Monday Morning Handicapping. This is a Pedigree playlist, and I'm going to do something a little bit different for this video. Instead of looking at one particular sire and looking at the pedigree, I'm going to take a look at one particular horse that is running now and go back and look at the pedigree to determine where I think this horse is going to be suited best in her career. And the horse that I'm covering today is by the name Miss Watermelon. So just a little video rundown. We're going to go over who is Miss Watermelon. We'll take a glimpse at my Google Sheets document, which will be provided in the description below for any of you who want to take a look at the stats that I'm working with. We'll go over how early can we expect her to win, what types of surfaces might she prefer, what distances might suit her the best. We'll look at the precocity and productivity of the sire and dam sire. How durable are the runners produced by her sire and dam sire? A little look at the longevity maybe that we can assume of her, and then some overall takeaways and final thoughts. So who is Miss Watermelon? Miss Watermelon is the first horse owned outright by Go-Go Gray Stables. Go-Go Gray Stables is Dave Portnoy's new horse racing operation. Dave Portnoy is the founder of Barstool Sports, which he began as a free newspaper and built it into a large media company centered around sports and gambling. Barstool Sports is worth around $450 million today. While I enjoy Portnoy's occasional live feeds from the racetrack, I do not consume a ton of Barstool content, though I am a fan of his generally. In my opinion, his involvement and passion for horse racing should be viewed as a complete net positive for the sport. I wanted to cover his first horse so that not only can I ride in his wake, but because I think there will be a lot of players as well as his followers that want to know more about his runner and what to expect from a pedigree standpoint this early in her career. So Miss Watermelon was sired by Cairo Prince. The sire is the father. The dam or mother of Miss Watermelon was a racehorse named Adore, and the dam sire, or the grandfather on the mother's side basically, the father of Adore was a racehorse named Big Brown. Miss Watermelon is trained by Jonathan Thomas, who has a career win rate of 23%. Miss Watermelon was purchased for $350,000 as a yearling in 2024. Miss Watermelon has one career start, no first, second, or thirds. She finished in 7th, going 8.5 furlongs or a mile and a 16th on the turf at Keeneland, and that was on October 3rd, 2025. Just some quick notes about her debut race. She went off at 7-2 odds on debut, so first ever race in a 12-horse field. These odds were lower than the morning line odds, but I think there was a lot of public support around Dave Portnoy's horse just because people wanted to back his horse and support the guy himself. The horse broke a half step slow from post number 8, but got down to the rail quickly without incident. Ran evenly throughout, about mid-pack. Seemingly kept composure between horses and the rail, stayed engaged. Sometimes horses that have never raced before, they can start throwing their head about and start getting a little antsy, especially when in tight spots, and this horse seemed to keep her composure from what I saw. Overall, a seemingly good educational debut, liable to improve off of this in my opinion. Miss Watermelon, the careers of immediate pedigree. So starting off with the sire or father of Miss Watermelon, a horse named Cairo Prince. Cairo Prince had 5 career starts, 3 wins and a second, with $562,000 in career earnings. In Cairo Prince's first race, he ran first on debut, first race, going 6 furlongs or 6/8 or 3/4 of a mile on the dirt. In his second race, he ran first in a grade 2, going 8 furlongs or 1 mile on the dirt. In his third race, he ran second in a grade 2, going 9 furlongs, a mile and an eighth on the dirt. Fourth race, first place in a grade 2, going a mile and a 16th on the dirt. And his fifth race, he ran fourth in a grade 2, going 9 furlongs on the dirt. The dam sire, Big Brown, so basically the grandfather on the mother's side of Miss Watermelon, had 8 career starts, 7 wins, no seconds or thirds, with $3.6 million in career earnings. Big Brown won on debut, going 8.5 furlongs on the turf. He was a Triple Crown contender, but had a controversial loss in the Belmont Stakes, which is the third and final leg of the Triple Crown series, starting with the Kentucky Derby, followed by the Preakness Stakes, and then on to the Belmont Stakes. He won 4 Grade 1 races, including the 2008 Kentucky Derby, and all of his wins were between 8 and 10 furlongs, so 1 mile up to a mile and a quarter. Based on the careers of Miss Watermelon's immediate pedigree, I would assume that Miss Watermelon would be a candidate to win fairly early in her career and might also prefer to run on dirt, going a distance of 8 to 10 furlongs. And now I just want to show everyone the documents that I'm working with, just so everyone knows where I'm coming from. And again, this document will be provided in the description below. So here's what my document looks like. If you go down to the bottom, you can see the tabs of all the runners that I've covered so far. The last two being Cairo Prince and Big Brown for Miss Watermelon's immediate pedigree. Over on the left-hand column, we're going to have the top 50 earners by each of these sires. I chose the top 50 earners because I think when the horses really show their potential from this pedigree, this is what you can expect. If the horse doesn't want to run, it's not going to look good on any surface, any distance. So I wanted to see what the horses do when they do perform to what they're capable of. So for example, the top earner by Cairo Prince is a horse named Cairo Consort. Cairo Consort had 18 career starts, 5 wins, 2 seconds, and 3 fourth place finishes. Over here in this set of columns, we have the first career win and some information. What start number did they get their first career win? So it took Cairo Consort 3 starts to get his first win. He was the age of 2 when he got it in the 7th month, so in July. And remember, 2-year-old races start in the spring, early summer-ish area. So to get the first win as a 2-year-old in early July is still relatively early in their potential racing careers. Going a distance of 6.5 furlongs on the turf at the Woodbine racetrack. And then over in this set of columns, I skip ahead to the most recent win, their last win of their career, just to get a sense of where these horses are progressing as they get older. What do they specialize in? There's only so many options for young horses when they're first starting out their career, so they might have to run shorter races on a certain surface just because the options, again, are limited. So as they get older, more options open up, and the trainer can really put the horse into the distance and surface that suits the horse the best. So Cairo Consort got his most recent win in his 15th career start out of 18 at the age of 4 in the 3rd month of the year, going a distance of 8.5 furlongs or a mile and a 16th, still on the turf at the Gulfstream racetrack. And over here, I do have the dam sire of each of these winners. So if you want to get a sense of which horses are winning early, maybe first time out, like Cairo Memories, you can look up a horse that was by Cairo Prince and maybe shares the same dam sire, Indian Charlie, and maybe they can win very early in their career before the public gets wise to them. And you can catch them at a good price, especially on debut when little is known about the horses. So that's all the information I provided for everybody. If they want to check the description below, down below, I have all the averages and things like that I'm going to be using for the rest of this video, but feel free to take a look. And if you go down to my final tab, the sum, I've compared all the sires that I've covered so far, so you can sort of compare and contrast just of the sires that I've covered so far. Obviously, I hope as my data grows that these numbers will become more relevant, but so far I think it has been working out okay, especially when I'm looking at first-time starters on the racing form. And we're going to skip over to the racing form now, just in case people don't know where to see the information regarding the breeding. So for example, your racing form is going to look like this. This is a horse named My Boy Prince, and if you scan over here where you see sire, you'll see this horse is also sired by Cairo Prince being the father of My Boy Prince. In parentheses, we have the sire of the sire. Pioneer of the Nile is the father of Cairo Prince, who is the father of My Boy Prince. Here we have the dam or mother of My Boy Prince, Hopping Not Hoping, and the sire of the dam, not the dam of the dam, but the sire of the dam was a horse named Silent Name. So in Miss Watermelon's case, you'll see Cairo Prince right there by sire, and then Big Brown in the parentheses beyond the dam, which should be a door. If anyone wants to learn more about how to read a racing form, I do have a playlist called How to Read a Racing Form where I break all these parts down. But for now, let's just continue on with the slideshow. So continuing on, we're going to look at the immediate pedigree to gain a sense of the precocity of Miss Watermelon. So here I took a snapshot of that Excel spreadsheet that is available for everybody, and these are all averaged out, all my stats below. So I took Cairo Prince, Big Brown, looked at his offspring, see where they're winning, how often, how early, etc., and combined them for all my figures just to gain a general sense of what we can expect. So between these two sires, they had 24% of their offspring win on debut, which is the first time ever racing. Again, a combined average, but that is 6 points lower than the average of all the sires that I've covered so far. Again, if you go to that sum tab, I've averaged out all the sires so far. So between these two, on average, they are 6 points below on debut winners in terms of percentages. Average number of starts to get their first win for all ages, and I did all ages because sometimes horses don't even start racing till their 3-year-old year, perhaps late in their 2-year-old year, and so they don't win in their first race, but their second race, they're 3 by now. And so I just want to gain a sense for all ages. It takes on average 3.8 starts. Again, combined average, which is 0.7 starts more than the average. Not terribly bad, but still a little above the average. Average number of starts to win as a 2-year-old. Now this is for those horses that are getting on the racetrack as early as possible. Takes on average 2.35 starts, which is 0.35 starts higher than the average. Still a little bit higher, but not very much. Pretty close to average. The average month for the first 2-year-old win, not all ages, because the 3-year-old season starts in January. That would just skew the averages. But for those early winners, what month are they getting that first win in? For these sires, their offspring are getting their first win in early September, which is right about average of all those sires that I've covered so far. So she's on par in terms of the pedigree angle. Average number of starts to get their first win if they're 3 years old or older, maybe late bloomers, maybe get late starts to their career. Takes on average 5 starts for these sires' offspring to get their first win, which is about 0.9 starts higher than the average of the sires I've covered so far. Immediate pedigree indicates to me that Miss Watermelon may not be an especially precocious type. The average time of win for 2-year-olds from these pedigrees takes place in early September with an average of 2.35 starts, and Miss Watermelon just debuted in early October. If we look at the range of starts it takes for the average runner from these pedigrees to get their first win, Miss Watermelon could be looking at a timeline of 2 to 5 starts before she achieves her first win. Switching over to surfaces, my earlier speculation based on the careers of Miss Watermelon's immediate pedigrees leads me to assume that she might prefer the dirt surface. Looking at the averages of the offspring of both of these runners, comparing it to the averages of the sires I've covered. For their first win or their maiden win, 59% of their offspring are getting their first win on the dirt, which is 9 percentage points below average. 34% of their offspring are getting their first win on the turf, which is 9 points above average. And 7% of their offspring are getting their first win on the synthetic, which is equal to average. And as they progress, where they're going to where they're more specialized in what types of surfaces in their latest win, 63% of their offspring are getting their latest win on the dirt, 6 points below average. 35% of their offspring are getting their latest win on turf, 9 points above average, and 2% are getting their latest win on the synthetic. And we should take note that there are much fewer synthetic races offered compared to dirt and turf. So a low percentage here doesn't mean they can't handle the synthetic, but there's just not a ton of options. Either way, that is 3 percentage points below average. Interestingly, the sires that were prominent on the dirt are producing runners that are excelling on the turf. While their progeny saw an increase of 4 points regarding wins on the dirt from their first win to their most recent win, dirt wins overall remain below average, while the number of turf wins remains 9 points above average. As their progeny progressed, they remain proficient turf runners, so it makes sense that Miss Watermelon would debut on the turf, and I would expect her to try the turf again in her next start. Now looking at distances, my earlier speculation based on the careers of Miss Watermelon's immediate pedigree leads me to believe that she would be best suited in route races, so 8 furlongs, 1 mile or longer. Taking a look at those sires and the averages of their offspring, what distances are those offspring getting their maiden or first win? 48% of those offspring are getting their very first win in sprint races, which is 15 points below average. 52% of those offspring are getting their first win in route races, which is 15 points above average. And the average distance for that first win is 7.2 furlongs, which is actually 0.4 points higher than the average. In the latest win, as they go to where they more specialize in, 40% of their offspring are getting wins in sprints, 9 points below average. 60% are getting their wins in routes, 9 points above average. And the average distance in their most recent win is 7.6 furlongs, still below that 8 furlong mark that I expected. However, it is 0.3 furlongs higher than the average. Based on the first wins and most recent wins of the progeny of Miss Watermelon's immediate pedigree, it does appear that she should thrive at route races. The progeny are earning their first win in routes 15 points higher than the average of the sires I've covered so far. As these horses progress, the percent of the progeny earning a win in route races in their most recent start increases by 8 points to 60%, which is 9 points higher than the average. Interestingly though, a higher percentage of them are winning route races overall. The average distance for both their first wins and most recent wins are below 8 furlongs, meaning the sprint races they are winning are on the shorter side of sprint races, which would indicate to me that they can produce runners that excel in a wide range of distances. So ultimately, more of their offspring are winning in routes, but a lot of them are winning, when they do win in sprint races, are really short sprint races, which is dragging this average distance down a little bit below that 8 furlong bar that I sort of expected from this pedigree. Miss Watermelon does have a lone sibling, her one half sibling by the name of Hart, the only other runner to come out of the mare Adore. Hart had 13 career starts, 3 wins, 2 seconds, and a third, and earned $117,000 in her career. She won on debut at the age of 2 in December, going 6 furlongs on the dirt. So as you can see, this is one of those 2-year-olds that did start in December. So definitely got a late start in her 2-year-old year, however, did win on debut. Her second win was in start number 6 at age 3 in October, going 6 furlongs on a synthetic surface. Third and final win was in start number 9, age 4 in May, going 5.5 furlongs on synthetic surface. Hart raced in 2 ungraded stakes with the best placing at 4th place, going 6 furlongs on the dirt. Miss Watermelon's lone sibling was precocious enough to win on debut, but bucked the moderate trend regarding the sire and dam sire by never winning while routing or on the turf surface. Hart also was never able to win at the stakes level, but did win 23% of her races and ran in the money, so top 3 in 46% of her races. Hart did have a second place finish in her only try on the turf, going 5.5 furlongs. 8 of her 13 starts were on the synthetic, and with a good showing on turf, maybe she might have preferred the turf surface. Some people say that synthetic is in between dirt and turf, and some horses that really like the synthetic might actually take to the turf as well. So maybe Hart would have liked the turf, given that she ran second in it in her only try and never got another try, but ran good in her lone effort. Longevity and durability. So again, combined averages for the sire and dam sire of Miss Watermelon. Average number of starts for Offspring's most recent win, 23.2 starts. So again, I looked at the latest win for the offspring of both of these sires and how many starts did they earn their last win? How many races do they race and are still successful? On average, 23.2 starts. The highest number of starts for the most recent win on average was 64.5 starts. So Big Brown had a runner who got a win in their 82nd start. Cairo Prince had a runner that got a win in their 47th start. Average it out to 64.5 starts. Average age for most recent win is 5.05 years old, so barely over 5 years old. Oldest age for most recent win on average is 8.5 years old. The results from the offspring of Miss Watermelon's immediate pedigree indicates to me that she has the potential to be a winning racehorse beyond her 4-year-old season. Both sire and dam sires have produced horses durable enough to win up to the age of 8, but on average for their most recent wins going into their 5-year-old season. Like people, every horse is an individual, but should Miss Watermelon stay focused on racing, she can be a winner for multiple years. Key takeaways and final thoughts. Due to the popularity of her owner, Mr. Dave Portnoy, this horse might be an underlay for some time, meaning her betting odds to win could be lower than her actual chances of winning because so many people will want to back and support one of his horses. In my opinion, she had a solid debut, giving her a foundation to build upon, and I would not be surprised to see her improve in the future. My stats indicate that she might not be overly precocious and it may take several starts for her to earn her first victory. Optimistically, 2 to 5 starts depending on which races she enters and of course racing luck to avoid any traffic issues during her races. Though her sire and dam sire had good careers routing on the dirt, my stats show that their progeny often lean toward routing on the turf. Her lone sibling Hart earned all of her wins sprinting, 1 on dirt, 2 on synthetic, though she did have a good race in her lone effort on turf, so maybe she could have been productive there. Miss Watermelon's immediate pedigree seems to produce durable runners, so if all goes well and she stays focused on racing, she could still win races well after her 4-year-old season. Regardless of your opinion of the owner, and in full transparency, I'm a relatively peripheral fan. I think it's an overall net positive that someone with his means and following is so passionately invested in the sport, and I wish him much success. I will certainly be tuning into any and all of his horse racing content. That's it for Miss Watermelon. Thanks to anybody for watching. As always, feedback is appreciated, whether it's positive, negative. You have questions, comments, or recommendations, please let me know. Please like, subscribe, and or share with friends. I always say that I'm trying to target an audience that is relatively new to the sport, so if I seemingly explain things in a simple way or break things down too extensively, that's sort of why, because I'm assuming I'm talking to more people that don't know a ton about the sport, so try to help them out, get them more involved, help them understand what's going on, and hopefully they take a liking to it and support horse racing in their local area. If you do know any newcomers and you want them to educate themselves a little bit, I do have a couple of playlists dedicated to people who want to learn more. Again, that How to Read a Racing Form playlist on my channel. I think it's about 10 videos. Each one's a couple minutes long, and I just break down each component of the racing form, talk about what it's telling you, how you can decipher it, and how you can use it to make an informed decision on any particular race. After that, I would move over to betting on horse racing, and that's where I go over each wager that a track typically offers, talk about what it is, how much it costs, how to place it if you're going to a clerk, what to say, what kind of terminology, how much it's going to cost based on different structures of your ticket, and also some things that I look for before I place any such wager. So if you know anyone that's a newcomer and wants to learn a little bit more, I think those are good playlists to share with them. Coming up next for me, I'm not entirely sure yet. I was thinking about doing some article writing practice, put on Facebook, put on Twitter, and hopefully just practice writing some articles should the opportunity to come up to write some articles. I would have a backlog of some practice articles I've written that I could show somebody. I do have contact information after this video is over on the outro slide if you do want to check those out, or just get a hold of me and follow me on the social media platforms. Also, the 2-year-olds are gearing up for the 2026 Kentucky Derby, so I might look at some prospects. I did those videos last year and they seemed quite popular, and it actually worked out with me because I had journalism and sovereignty top 2 on my Kentucky Derby prospects list. Of course, I had journalism on top, so that was a bit of a bad beat, but it was real fun and informative, really breaking down all the 2-year-olds, looking over their pedigree, their recent races, how they run, how they won, and all that. But I really enjoyed that and it seemed to be pretty popular. I might handicap an upcoming race and just put out a quick video of me breaking the race down, who I think is going to win and why. Or also I might just do another pedigree playlist. They're not my most popular videos, but I know it's really wise to brush up on the pedigree and just get an understanding of what sires are producing what kinds of runners, so that when you see them at good odds, maybe they're trying the turf for the first time and you know that sire produces a good number of turf runners, you might be able to catch them at a good price before the public becomes wise to them. I really enjoy it. Again, they're not the most popular, but I know it's one part that a lot of people don't want to put the time into, and I really enjoy it. And also, Portnoy bought more horses, so maybe I'll do another video like this covering another one of his horses. I am intrigued by such a high profile guy buying these horses and being active about it, so I appreciate him for that. But that's it for Miss Watermelon. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you to anybody for watching, and I'll see you next time.